Good morning again, everyone, and welcome back to the KSR YouTube channel. During the course of the Midwest Drags 2021 with Cletus and myself running around the Ohio and Indiana up there in Mullet, you guys got us to 200,000 subs, and dang it, is it awesome. Like, as I've said, when we hit 100,000 subs, totally didn't ever see something like this happening for myself, KSR. You know, I've been, before all this YouTube stuff, KSR has been a business for over 10 years. And I've been involved with motorsports even well before that. And we've just kind of always been, at least for myself, I've always been the kind of person that just, when we need to get something done, I just put my head down and get to work. Try to do things as best as I can do them. And it's awesome to see that a lot of you guys appreciate that, and you tell me that in person when we meet. It's awesome being able to meet all you guys again at events. And we are trying to get to more and more events, both with some of our cars, some of our other projects, as well as our little, we have a very small merch trailer we bring with us sometimes. And speaking of merch, we don't have any new stuff yet, but for some of you subscribers, you may be new and you don't know about some of our merch, but we do carry some different KSR hats. Our most popular shirt by far has been the Everything Needs a Turbo shirt, and we're working on something to follow that up, but man, is that a good looking shirt. If you watched Cletus and my videos for the last day of Midwest Drags, you saw we were both wearing that shirt. Kind of was worked out that that was the only shirt we had clean at the end of the event. We were getting ready in the morning and we're like, well, I guess, yeah, we're gonna wear matching shirts today. So, but anyways, thanks again for all you awesome people subscribing. I'm gonna try and keep bringing more and more content to where we get fairly regularly on an every 2 to 3 day schedule of putting out a video. As many of you know, it's a lot of work. And I've got this business to try and keep going and keep stuff moving through the business. I also have 3 daughters that I have to pick up and take back and forth to school, at least for half the time. So all is good there, but I'm gonna get into some of the other projects we've got going on, specifically the next big project we've got going on, and we'll get to that in just a minute. All right, so what is our next project after the Mullet build? Well, Mullet's actually coming back for a little touch up after Midwest Drags to get it ready for Rocky Mountain Race Week. I couldn't remember which one was next. There's so many of them. And by the way, those are awesome events. If you guys are anywhere close to one that's happening, you should try to get there and attend and participate. Can't explain just how cool it is to be riding around competing with a bunch of friends and people. It's just good. It's awesome. But anyways, the next build at KSR, it is a very serious Chevy 2. It's owned by Shawn, and this car is getting, it's going to be a drag week type build, as well as Shawn and his wife are going to be driving Route 66 with this car. So you can tell it's got some nice, like, not really racy seats, but at least they do have the spots for racing harnesses to come through them for when we're racing. This car should be pretty doggone fast. Under the hood is a 388 cubic inch LS cathedral port headed engine. It's going to be twin 66 or 67 millimeter turbos, I believe. We actually have been through a little bit of a struggle back and forth on this thing, placing turbos. Thought we were going to use stock manifolds to begin with, and then I decided on trying the same manifolds that are on Mullet and putting the turbos somewhere up here. That got a little bit too busy, so now we are going to be mounting the turbos basically right in here. They're not huge turbos, and obviously to run super fast, car could stand to have bigger turbos. Similar style servo sizing as what is on Leroy, because I don't remember the exact, it's on the box over there. Maybe I'll look at it while we're looking at parts. Anyways, but gonna have twin turbos. It's got an air to water intercooler on it, and all of that stuff is mounted back in the trunk. You can see it also has an AC compressor on it. So yes, this car is going to have air conditioning. So there's a vintage air unit. I don't believe it's in here. No, it's not. So we fabbed brackets to mount it back here ahead of the roll cage, in front of the roll cage, behind the dashboard or the firewall. And you can, if you see this textured paint, that's not a bed liner material. It's actually a product called lizard skin. So this product is an insulating type paint. There's 2 layers of it. You put 1 layer down, and it's kind of like has an insulating property to it, and then another layer has a sound deadening property to it. I don't remember which goes where, but it's not terribly expensive for the stuff you buy, and you can hear it doesn't have that twangy, you know, sound when you're rapping on sheet metal. I mean, it's a very solid car. So another thing we've done in this car, which I don't think we can see because it's still taped off from paint, but there is a factory headliner in this car. And not gonna lie, it was a gigantic pain in the butt to install. I will fully admit, like the restoration-y trim type parts, that's not really my wheelhouse. We do fabrication, we do wiring, race car stuff, things that make race cars go fast. Obviously, we do some chassis tuning at the track and power management, all kinds of things, and have a pretty good handle on making cars go pretty quick. But restoration and that kind of things, it eats up a ton of time. I mean, tons of time. And at the end of the day, you don't see a whole lot of progress. Like rebuilding a door or installing weather stripping in a full door may take you all day, maybe 8 hours, maybe 10 hours. So it's tedious stuff, especially to make it look nice. And if you're gonna go through the effort of doing it, you might as well make it look nice. So as you may be able to tell, this car's got a lot of roll cage in it, and it is built to a 25.3 spec. So funny car cage around the driver. You can see it's got lots of gussets here, similar to what I did on Mullet that I added in to update the chassis spec in Mullet. We tucked the bars real close out to the A-pillars there. Same with the back. It's really tight here. And you may be wondering, how in the world did you get around and weld the tops of those? Well, I didn't. I just skipped that. No, I wouldn't do that. No. So actually what we did with this car is we cut the entire floor out of it from somewhere in here. Took the entire floor out of it. The trunk pan was already needed to be replaced. The driver's side floor pan was shot. So we cut out what was left, built the roll cage inside the car, and just lifted the body up off of the car, lifted the body up off of the roll cage, and welded all the tops of it, painted all the tops of it. Actually, we installed the headliner while the body was out. And it was still a pain in the butt. But got all that done, set it back down onto our spots where we had our plates welded to the body, because we had large plates where the roll cage welds to the body of the car. Those stayed with the car, so we lift the body up, do all our work, drop the body back down, and then start adding back in all of the different floor pieces. So we also, and they're kind of hidden well, but right in, can I see that down in there? Come on, camera. Yeah, you can kind of see the bar that comes off of the roll cage, and it goes up to a plate that's welded here. This is actually 1/8 inch plate right here that we blended all out and everything. And it is threaded with these so that where this front subframe bolts to the car, it's basically a continuation of the roll cage. So the entire car, suspension points, shock points, leaf spring mounts, still a leaf spring car, just like Soccer Mom, the Lawn Dart, those cars that you guys have seen on the channel, which we do have Soccer Mom shirts, by the way. And we will be doing some more stuff with Soccer Mom here in the near future. But this car has leaf springs. All of that stuff ties directly to the roll cage in the car and under the car. We've put quite a bit of work into the trunk. And as you can tell, got our fire system back here. We got our cutoff switch over there. Talking real deal street car here, like similar to Mullet, except even to the next level above with the air conditioning and the all the interior panels. Like this car is going to have complete interior in it. It's really going to be a nice piece once it's all said and done. Under the car, it's got all of the bars that meet the 25.3 chassis spec. In the trunk, we've got lots of stuff going on here. See, we've got our same kayak lid that we used on Mullet, the El Camino. This is for the intercooler. Big giant water pump in there. It's actually a bilge pump out of a boat, but it works awesome. And the reason I didn't use something like that on Mullet is because I wanted to keep the water pump the same between the intercooler system and the radiator, so that Cletus would only have to carry one spare. But we've got our racing fuel cell actually back here in the back with Holley's Big Dog brushless dual pump fuel cell module. This joker here, they say it'll move enough fuel for like 4,000 horsepower on race gas. So we may not get to that level, at least not for a while, but that gives us the option of possibly running some methanol fuel at lower power levels. I expect this car to be somewhere probably 1,700 horsepower on full kill with those turbos. And the turbos will be maxed out before the engine combination is, but turbos are pretty easy to swap them out and get them upsized. But actually, let me grab a flashlight because it's pretty in the trunk. All right, so grab the flashlight and you can see kind of the back part of the roll cage and how my shocks tie into the roll cage. Got a little extra support bar on that, and yeah, we sealed the shocks off right directly, so the bottom of the shock is actually up inside of that little can right there. We used GM splatter paint on the inside of the trunk and then clear coated it. We've got our TRZ anti-roll bar up inside the trunk here with our end links going down through, through these same style grommets. And then these are our race fuel lines that come down and also go through a grommet there. Intercooler lines over on that side. We got fire system nozzle back there. Our fire bottle mounted right there. All of our trunk wiring and everything has ended up right there. And then we've got our air pump, just like what we did in Mullet. Got it hiding back over here in the corner there. And the idea was that when they're traveling on their trip or doing drag weeky type stuff, we've got this big open spot here in the trunk where they can put their luggage, put anything they want there in the trunk. Close the trunk down, get on down the road to the next track or the next town, and they can keep enjoying their trip. So I'll lift this thing up and show you kind of what's going on underneath it, and then we'll probably wrap this video up with that. All right, so underneath the Chevy 2, you can see we've got a lot of roll cage bars. And I mean a lot. So this is all stuff for the 25.3 chassis spec. Actually missing some bolts out of my transmission cross member, but you can see we do little things like put a weld dot on each side for which side it lines up with, which I mean it should be pretty obvious that the transmission goes there, but anyways. And we put factory floor pans back in this car, and you can kind of see where we sectioned them so that they were a little bit easier to install. We split them this way and welded them to the top of the bar so that this bar is fully welded on the top. I mean, you can hear it is solid. And then I came back in with some filler and just kind of wiped a smear of filler in there to help seal everything off. I mean, it looks like I'm really happy with how this car has been turning out. Like every single place the roll cage is close to the floor, it's been sealed with that sealer so that it doesn't, you know, it cuts down on the rattle, just makes the car a whole lot more solid. All of these bars are required for the 25.3 chassis spec. We have painted the underside of this car. That's actually one of our seat mounts right there. It's either seat or seat belt. Might be the seat, I don't remember which. And you can see got a carbon fiber drive shaft in this one too. Nice strange third member. I believe we've got a 350 gear in this car with a power glide transmission. It's got an FTI power glide. I don't remember who he said built the engine, but we're gonna find out just how good of a piece it is once we start leaning some boost to it. Got some Weld Racing double beadlock wheels. See, I've just got my anti-roll bar loose because I leave those loose until I get to scaling the car. See, we've got leaf spring mount with some multiple hole adjustments there, and it's all the way at the highest setting now, which is for the lowest vehicle position, so that we can fit this 315 on here. When we move the car to 275s, we'll probably use that hole or that hole. That's what kind of puts the instant center in the best place. You can see how the shocks fit up inside the canisters there. This is our street fuel tank, and the car has the same kind of dual fuel system that Mullet has. I'm just going to tune it up where it switches from one setup to the other. Once the car is in race trim and making boost, probably 4 pounds of boost or something, we'll make it where it just flips over to the race fuel. But that seems it worked really well on Mullet. I've done a couple other projects with that, tuning projects along the way, and really think that's a neat way to do things. More complicated, yes, but for the drag and drive type events, it's fantastic. I mean, I think on Mullet, with all those runs we made, I think we used 5 gallons of fuel, race fuel, the entire week. And I mean, we made a lot of attempts on the day at Indy. And, you know, like we were just topping off the fuel after every few runs. Turned out to be a good deal. So this rear end that's in this car started with a bare housing, and then we narrowed it, did the ends, the housing ends, did the back brace, did the under bracing, the jack point, welded on the Smith Racecraft leaf spring mounts. It's kind of all dusty up in here. We need to spend a little time cleaning her. But we're using Max Trax bars, I think they call them, or Assassin bars. A lot more adjustment than some of the old like Caltrack stuff like we use on Soccer Mom and the Lawn Dart. But we're anxious to see how those work with all that adjustment. But this car, we've got a dump valve here on the transmission that lets us, you know, dump the fluid pressure in the torque converter to help us get the car down a slippery track, or say we need to loosen the torque converter up so that we can get the car to spool. I don't think that'll be a problem with the turbos that are on this engine. They're a little on the smaller side, so we should have very easy spooling capabilities with this project. But probably my next project on this is going to be to get the turbos mounted. I'll get Travis doing some of the wiring. He's actually gone the next few days on a little family vacation. So I'm going to be doing getting the turbos mounted. So we do have to switch the alternator that's on the car, because we're going to use the same 14-volt battery system that is in Mullet, and that requires a alternator that charges at about 15.5 volts instead of a 12-volt battery that needs to charge at 14.5 volts. But get to be trucking along with that, and the plan is to get all of the front fabrication done, get the radiator mounted, get some inner fender wells made for the car, and then it all has to come back apart. And the reason for that is we're going to get the subframe powder coated and the inner fenders powder coated, get everything kind of finished, which you can see we've got our firewall and floor pan pretty much wrapped up. All that's painted up real nice, but everything ahead of the firewall is not done yet. So the plan is to mount the turbos on it, do the charge piping, get all of that stuff taken care of. Hopefully, month and a half, 2 months, we should be for sure firing the thing up pretty soon, and we'll probably fire it up. We'll probably fire it up before we take it apart. But if you guys want to follow along with this build, it's going to be our next one, as well as we'll mix in some other videos of some of the other stuff we got going on at the shop. Taking Soccer Mom out racing, the lawn dart. The dually is going to make another appearance here pretty soon. Steve's been extremely busy with work and some family stuff in his life, so we haven't had time to take the dually out since we put the transmission in the thing. Like, you just get busy. Life is busy. But race cars are fun. So I think that's going to wrap up for this episode. We're excited to get back on this thing and get it out of here. It has been a long time coming. We'll figure out how to work through it, and we'll keep bringing you guys as much content as we can. But for now, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.